What's up, everybody? The Geek Beach is back weekly. We made it to double digits this time. We're actually in the double digits. Episode 10 of the Geek Beach, or number 10, depending on how you want to look at things. We're here, man. We made it this far. Will we go forever? Who's to say? Maybe this will be the last one, because the world will end. Maybe I'll do this until I die. It could happen anytime. Content forever, that is my new motto. Forget a social life of any kind. You got to make your content. You got to be stuck here in this box for the rest of my life. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Got a big news week to talk about. More bullshit to uncover from Warner Brothers. So before that, we got some interesting, juicy tidbits that I do want to jump into because there's some very exciting stuff in here that I'm genuinely interested in. You don't have to be, but I am. So that's fun. I have openly said before, one of the few things I'm interested in seeing on Netflix is whatever Tim Burton was going to do with the Addams Family. He's talked about it enough where he's like, hey, guess what? Miss Peregrine failed, so I guess I'm going to try this thing that people like. And that makes sense to me. And we got our first trailer for Wednesday, which is his adaptation of the Addams Family stuff. Jenna Ortega, who is, I'd call her the modern Scream Queen. Jenna Ortega has been slowly pumping out some great content in the horror genre, her in Scream and the X movie. And I guess X is getting a prequel this month, or next month too. That's weird, right? Because Pearl, that's a whole other thing. But Jenna Ortega, crushing it in the horror genre, doing some amazing work there. And she's just like, I guess I'll be Wednesday Addams on Netflix. Why not? That's a big paycheck for her. And it makes sense. She's probably really good at that role. And from what we saw in the trailer, she's fantastic. It seems like Wednesday is going to start off in a modern school for modern kids, just your everyday, like, TikTok socialite losers. And she's going to put piranhas in the water of the swimming pool. A piranha's going to bite a dude's dick off, and then she's going to be sent to the Harry Potter-y school of whatever the Addams Family looks like. That's cool, I guess. I mean, you just know that Burton wants to do something again, kind of like Miss Peregrine. Like, that seemed like something he was so passionate about, to like get Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children like out there and have that in the public consciousness. And it didn't work because nobody knew what that was. It's like, oh, is it a Harry Potter thing? Is it an X-Men thing? What is this? Nobody knew what it was, so nobody watched it. So it's like, yeah, of course, him going back to do this. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. The Addams Family is a cool legacy. They've had some great content forever. I would argue there's never been a bad Addams Family thing made in any form of media. Now, there is apparently some points of contention for an entire group of people out there because, believe it or not, folks, this is unbelievable to me. Some people are saying Luis Guzman is not sexy. He's Gomez in this. Some people are saying he's not sexy. Who are you to say what's sexy or not? First off. Second off, Luis Guzman is one of the most passionate actors we have out there, and every time he appears on screen, he is dedicated. He is performing on a level nobody else is. Sometimes it's very subtle compared to the other actors he's working with, but he's never phoned in a performance. He is hilarious. He is suave. He is collected. And guess what? Luis Guzman is sexy. I said it. I'll stand by that for the end of time. Not only does he look like the original comic strip for Gomez, he's a sexy looking man. Just passionate. Like, you'd want to come home and cuddle him. Like, that's all you'd want from him. And he's just so sweet that way. And Catherine Zeta, I kind of talked about this a little bit already. If there's one thing I'm hesitant on, it's how she's going to do. Because I just think she's going to either do too much or too little. And that's not a criticism of her at all. I genuinely love her. I love her. I just don't know if she was the right choice. If I were given, okay, cast Morticia, would she be my first choice? Probably not. I could definitely see her in contention for the role. I don't know if she'd be my first choice, but I mean, the passion's there of Louise, baby. If they're just going to be hamming it up, look how strong and passionate and fiery our relationship is. Well, Jenna's just like, I don't want to be here. I'm going to go to school and maybe fit in, but still be an outsider. We're going to do a whole thing. Sure. It's kind of cliched in that aspect, but hey, Tim Burton knows what he's doing. The man is a filmmaker first and foremost. So I'll watch anything he puts his little grubby hands into. Could be really cool. We also did just have two Addams Family movies in the animated format that emulate what the original comic strip was. And I don't think they performed great, but it does put it in the popular consciousness. And I know the theory was, or everyone was like, we should get Oscar Isaac to be Gomez. Here's the thing about that. This is no criticism on anybody else who has played Gomez. Oscar Isaac is almost like too pretty boy for that. And he's like a gruff, chiseled man sometimes, but he's just too clean. Gomez used to be like, he is sweating bullets for like the passion he has for his wife. I'm sure Oscar could commit to that, but he just looks too like pretty boy, you know? Anybody who can be inside Llewyn Davis is not Gomez, in my opinion. You got to get some gruffness in there while still being able to like sword fight your way through anything. And I think Luis Guzman could do that perfectly. So aside from the Sandman, Wednesday is the only thing that's really like piqued my interest in terms of Netflix in the past year. Maybe we'll see some new stuff there because they got Blonde coming out next month, which I will be talking more about Marilyn Monroe stuff as we go through it. Blonde's so fascinating to me. I don't know why we're going here from Wednesday, but let's just go to it. Blonde is something that I'm like, yeah, I get how every person in the world would want to see the Marilyn Monroe story. The thing is, the book that it's being based off of is not like an accurate depiction of her history. It's like based off of like stories made up by the author that depict Marilyn in these situations and how she would react in these situations. So it's dumb in that aspect. And it's like, Ana de Armas is not a bad choice, but again, it's like the Zeta Jones thing. Is that where you go? Is that what you want to see? I don't know. It's interesting. So Netflix, yeah, that's fun. They're doing, like, surprisingly, and I cannot believe I'm saying this for the life of me because I never thought in my lifetime I would be here to say this. Netflix is not the worst streaming service out there right now. Like, I never thought I'd be there to talk about that. I never thought Netflix would be the second worst. I always thought they'd be the worst. Maybe they're not even the second worst anymore. I'm trying to think of, like, what is one that I find genuinely worse than Netflix right now? I guess maybe Amazon just hasn't had any oomph to their stuff, but I don't know. It's whatever. It's a whole other thing. So there you go. Addams Family. Cool new stuff coming from Addams Family. I'll watch it. I'll support it. I'll do anything with it. Now here's something. I don't know why I'm talking about this because this is not my wheelhouse, but since we are streaming on Twitch now, for anybody who's watching this on YouTube, you can watch it on Twitch too. We got some video game stuff to talk about for some reason. Again, I don't normally talk about this stuff, but these things are kind of based on big franchises that I feel like I should talk about because it's kind of like literally my obsession is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Like that is such a dumb thing that is perfectly up my wheelhouse. And I cannot believe in this day and age, we are just like, oh no, yeah, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the video game. Yeah, the multiplayer video. Yeah, come on. Kids love that shit. You know, and this isn't like a criticism or anything, but you could put any reference you want for a Killer Clowns from Outer Space thing into the game. And I'm sure the people that are going to be streaming it day one aren't the people that have seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There's going to be a select few, but it's like such a niche thing. It makes perfect sense to adapt that into a video game compared to other things because clowns are scary. You're probably never really going to get a Pennywise game on that scale. So yeah, do that one. And, like, there's so many opportunities you could take with that. You could kind of do it like that Friday the 13th game that came out recently, that Evil Dead game that's kind of, I think that's still coming out or it's already out at the time of this. I don't know because, again, I don't have a console. But if there's going to be a couple of things that get me to get a console, it's that cat game that came out, Stray, because that looks really fun and cute. And it's probably Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And I guess the Wonder Woman and Wolverine games coming out. But honestly, give me Killer Clowns. That sounds fun. So a Killer Clowns from Outer Space multiplayer video game was announced today. So was an open world game based on Dune. Right? That's weird. That's like... Dune is one of those encompassing ideas where it's like, I get the need to expand the lore or to like expand the storytelling. But do you really? Like, is there enough of like a pull for a Dune expansion? It feels like we want to do part 1 and 2 and then I guess we're getting the Sisterhood spinoff or whatever, but I don't think it's like a franchise-esque thing where it's like we have to cover it in every media, you know? It just seems weird to me like Dune's the one to do, because what are you gonna do, like drive the weird flying helicopter thing and go into the desert? Like, I don't know, it seems like a weird choice. I bet you they were trying to get like a certain license and they couldn't get. They're like, well, Dune is something that we could do for some reason. we could do an entire video talking about movies that should be turned into games, and I would never in a million years have said Dune. That is not the one I would have picked, but that's kind of exciting, I guess. That's going to be fun. Dune Part 2 is also filming right now, and through all the bullshit going on at HBO, Discovery, and Warner, they did say that is it a sequel or a prequel or a spin-off series about the sisterhood from Dune is still in development. Like, that series is still in development, which is one of the few things still in development, honestly. So there's some video game stuff. We also got our first look at the Last of Us TV show, and yeah, it looks like the game. I have played the game. It's cool. It's awesome. I personally like Part 2 as well, or like Last of Us 2. I think they're both really fun. I don't know, like, what are we really doing with this? I understand, like, oh, it's a popular game. It's a franchise people love. Pedro Pascal's an actor people love. But we're just doing the game as a TV show. So you're losing the element of you in control of the character. And it's like, well, we're not doing anything inherently new. So what is the point of it? And I don't care. It brought the film industry to my province, so that's great. That's what I'm commending it for. It's like we're finally going to get a lot more shit happening where I am because everything's filming here now. Prey filmed here, Under the Banner of Heaven filmed here, The Last of Us filmed here, the new Tegan and Sarah show, whatever that's going to be, is filming here. Like, there's people coming to Alberta now, and that's kind of cool. But I don't know. The Last of Us. Yes, he says the line from the game. You don't know what suffering is or whatever it is. Like, we get it. Like, I don't know. Like, I am excited for the show in that it's like, oh, I've walked down that street probably where we filmed this scene. But it's also like, I played the game. I know how this is going to go. Season 2 will probably be the second game and make people mad that they don't divert things. Or maybe they will divert things, or maybe it's a miniseries. But The Last of Us, we got our first official look. And guess what? It looks like the game. So, did we do anything original or creative? Maybe, but did we? Who's to say? Also, sticking on this topic for just a minute, Borderlands is done filming, right? Like, we finished filming that movie. When's that coming out? And Fallout is in development very soon, so get ready for these to happen. Halo pretty much opened the floodgate, and now everything's going to trickle out and be like, guess what? Boom, we're doing it now, baby. Nintendo Pictures is set up. We're branching the two mediums. It's going to be awesome. Just imagine the video game tie-ins for the video game TV show based on the video game. Yep, that's where we are now. It's whatever. I don't genuinely care. So I had a couple of additions of like, do I want to talk about this before we jump into the HBO Discovery shit? I think we do. So a couple of small things I want to bring up before we get into the meaty stuff. There's been a lot of conversation for like the past 7 years from Dan Harmon, from Joel McHale, from Alison Brie, and Gillian Jacobs, and Danny Pudi, and Vinette Cole-Brown, and pretty much everybody in the Community TV show have at some point been like, no, we're doing the movie. Like, it's happening. It's going to come. 6 seasons in a movie, you know? Their old motto, their old mantra that got them more than they deserved. Not more than they deserved, more than they should have gotten. That mantra got them there. It got them the season 5 renewal. It got them season 6 on Yahoo TV. Y'all remember Yahoo TV, the first death in the streaming wars, because Community bankrupted that company because every single dollar they had went into getting Community, and then nobody knew how the hell to watch the show, so it bankrupted the company, and then all these other streaming services got the rights to Community, including the ones from Yahoo. Yeah, that's what happened with that. So if you were wondering, like, where did they air season 6? Yahoo, that brand that nobody uses anymore, had Community. So everybody involved has just been stating forever, we're doing the movie. And I guess just the other day, Dan Harmon's like, yeah, no, we're working on it right now. Like, it's going to come sooner than you're thinking. It's happening. We're everything's coming up Millhouse. Okay, I am a Community fan through and through. I was streets ahead on Community before a lot of people were. I've said this before. I don't know if I said it like on the podcast before, but I watched like the majority of the seasons of Community live when they came out week to week. I think season 3 is where I started watching it week to week. I was a Community nut from the beginning. Like, I remember just binging the second season. I went back to watch the first season. I'm like, oh, a third season's coming out. This looks sick. I was watching this show every day, obsessed with it. I wanted to get merchandise and everything. I loved Community so much. I still do. The problem I have with Community and like the extended things happening with that, it gave us too much Dan Harmon. The problem is Community made it so the Dan Harmon method could be presented into other mediums, and it affected two things majorly. And this is going to be a tangent. We're going on it anyways. It affected, you're not going to believe this, Rick and Morty, because guess what? He created Rick and Morty, and Rick and Morty took over the popular culture, right? It starts with Community. It's more subtle because it's on the network, and then it's like, what if we did like an adult animated show where we can do whatever we want? And then we just let Dan Harmon run free. His creative ideas were mixed at best. And then, because we realized Dan Harmon's a genius, and another time, let's just go on this tangent too. I have openly said I do not like Dan Harmon. I think if I were to work on a property he has, his energy and attitude infuriates me. He seems very lazy while still motivated at the same time. And I just think he's one of there's this whole subcategory of like these nerdy guys in these positions. And something I don't want to get trapped into as well. It's where it's like you're so arrogant that everything you say is like this prolific genius where, you know, you could just like, what's your opinion on, you know, like the current state of the DC universe? And Harmon could be like, blah, 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 this. And all these people online would be like, yeah, he's right. That's exactly what's going on. Or like, what's your opinion on Joss Whedon? And he'd be like, blah, 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 like, blah, blah, blah. And all these guys are like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And there's a bunch of those guys in this sphere that are like that. I'm hoping I'm not categorized in that. People are like, this is just some loser talking online. Who cares what he thinks? I don't want to be categorized. If somebody categorized me as a Dan Harmon type, I think I would lose my mind because I would hate to be that. So that's just a side thing. Dan Harmon, I do not like his energy. I do not like his work method. He gave us like the new Joseph Campbell's hero journey, whatever the fuck, you know, like the classic Joseph Campbell, like it's Star Wars. Your character starts off here. He has to get here and learn the lesson. Dan Harmon made one where it's like the 9 pillars, and it's just everything he uses for everything. So he made Community, he came over to Rick and Morty, made that, it became the biggest thing in the world, and then you think, oh, he's permeated pop culture where now all these animated shows have to like be Rick and Morty. We got a Star Trek show like Rick and Morty. I guess that's kind of Adventure Time too, kind of like did that too. But how many shows were greenlit to be like Rick and Morty? Final Space is probably greenlit to be like Rick and Morty. It's crazy. So then cartoons became Rick and Morty. And then all these amazing, talented people that worked on Rick and Morty, you're not going to believe this. All of them went to Marvel. Michael Waldron, Jeff Loveness, Jessica Guy, you know, like all these people, they're working on She-Hulk and Loki and WandaVision and Doctor Strange. And even Dan Harmon himself worked on Doctor Strange. Like all of these people started on Rick and Morty, are spearheading the MCU, and you wonder why it's getting too incestuous in its stories where everything feels like it's just a play on the other thing, because it's Rick and Morty now. And I will stand by that forever. Like the MCU has essentially become a Rick and Morty skit at times that it's painful. We'll get to more stuff with the MCU in a bit here. But I'm just like, okay, now we are officially in the oversaturated world of Dan Harmon. We're getting back to the actual topic, don't worry. We're in the oversaturated world of Dan Harmon. And all of these other people who worked on Community, they are just like, we're doing the movie. Here's the thing I want to say about that. It's too late, guys. It is officially too late. Any chance you had at relevancy for this film, whether it's a theatrical release or a streaming release, it's gone. Anything you try to do now is only going to be played as you referencing your previous self. If they do like the handshake or they do like pop or anything from the show, it's been too long where now it's going to be like, oh yeah, that's just from the show. You're referencing yourself. It's not good. And the other thing too is, I will say the majority, if not all of the people involved in this show have moved on to other things of equal or better significance. Joel McHale is in the 3rd season of Stargirl. I don't know why, but he's leading that. He's also in The Bear for some scenes. Alison Brie had a whole career. She still does. She's doing great. Larry, I'm on DuckTales. Danny Putty is doing that. He's got Mythic Quest. He's doing fine. Do I even need to mention Donald Glover? Do I? He's good. Jim Rash is doing voice work everywhere for everything all at once. Yvette Nicole Brown hosted a couple of like those panel shows on AMC and on Disney, so she's good. You know, I think she also had like a mini stint on another sitcom. I can't remember. Ken Jeong had a show where he was Dr. Ken, and now he's hosting The Masked Singer. If anything, maybe Chevy Chase needs this, but we killed him off, and who cares about Chevy Chase? Nobody has cared about Chevy Chase since season 3 of Community. Nobody cares. So I'm just like getting all of this back together. And sorry, Jillian Jacobs might be the only one who hasn't branched off enough, but she's getting a lot of side projects, so that's cool. So getting all these people back together, what's the point? What are we realistically going to say if it's just a like an elongated episode of the show? Who cares? We had our time with it. It's not exciting anymore. I don't know. And this is, I love Community. That is one of the shows that made me go, oh, I could do this. Like, I could write a sitcom. And a lot of my ideas stem from Community, but it's also like, I can take that into something else. And you can just see like the genius in terms of like the dialogue and the writing for that show. Do I think it kind of ruined pop culture for like the past couple of years? Yes, I do actually. I will stand by that. But a Community movie, what's the point anymore? We had our chance. Now it's done. Enough of Community. Let's jump into the Warner Brothers Discovery fiasco some more. Guess what? We got more stuff to talk about. Every week so far, I think I've brought up something from WBD. It's great. So the first thing, this is just, I guess, exciting in a sense. Matt Reeves has signed like a first look deal with WB. I guess he's the first creator that they're actually putting their faith in because everybody else is kind of getting the can. So that's cool. I like Matt Reeves. I think, and I can't confirm this, I think this play from WB is like, oh, the Batman was actual cinema, and we just lost Christopher Nolan because we screwed the pooch on Tenet, and now he took his really big casted film with a bunch of great actors that people like and went to Universal. We need to fill the void that Nolan left. I legitimately think that is what this is. Where they're like, who's the guy we have that's really good? No, we don't have Jordan Peele. He's over here doing that thing. Nolan left. Who do we got? We got the guy that did the Batman. That was critically acclaimed. Like, yeah, I guess we could. Yes, let's get him, do a first look deal. Okay. And the thing about that is it references the Batman in particular and his Batman universe. Just make Matt Reeves the guy in charge of your other DC movies, and then we could branch off from there. Or don't. I don't care at this point. But I'm just thinking, how many good ideas does Matt Reeves have? I love him as a director. I think he's creative. But I'm just wondering, what has he been keeping in his head, waiting for the opportunity to do it? Because I know how you get to Batman from your career, but what's the crazy thing he hasn't done yet? Because you see some of those directors, right? James Mangold in particular, I think he gets to make like his weird, crazy movie after he makes like successful X-Men films. He does the Ford versus Ferrari shit. I want to know what Matt Reeves' version of that would be. That would be exciting. But because I just know, like, yeah, we're going to do more Batman shit. I get that. Or are we? Because guess what? Oh, my goodness. Warner Bros. Like HBO Max, I should say. This is more, it's Discovery. They're all the same branch right now. So there was an active development Batman animated series called Batman Caped Crusader, which was produced by, get this, Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, the team behind Batman the Animated Series. I think it was Tim and Dini who were working on it. That award-winning combination of people, those brilliant masterminds, and HBO Max, Discovery, Warner Brothers was like, actually, no, we don't want to do anything with animation, you cheeky monkeys. Get lost. So the team behind the best animated superhero thing ever, J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves, those guys developing a Batman cartoon, one of the most proven marketable things of all time. They're just like, no, we're not going to do it. HBO Max like, no, we can't. Animation's gone. It's Kaputski. We're not doing it. Kids suck. Only kids watch cartoons. Let's get on this tirade for a minute here because I got to talk about this because it's been killing me for literal days since I heard all of this news. There was a huge purge of animation at HBO Max. Anything aimed for a young demographic was wiped out. I don't know the specifics of every single show, but you see things. The big ones people are really talking about are this Capes Crusader one. It's OKKO and Infinity Train, because these are important works of art. And guess what, everybody? Animation's only for kids. And the amazing David Zaslav, who has done nothing wrong in the eyes of the public, not that he tanked his company and is losing like so much in stocks recently, you know, because you're taking away one of the most marketable and revered projects in animation, which is Infinity Train, because that show was incredible and only got to be made because the fans were like, we gotta push this shit. Look how cool it is. This is like the spiritual successor to things like Adventure Time, because it's just so creative and doing these amazing things. That's what this is. They're like, nah, it's for kids. Like, oh, Zaslav has made all the wrong choices you can in this career. One of the things in particular is like not seeing the brilliance behind animation, not even as a genre, but as a medium. And yeah, a lot of the shows you got rid of were for children, but children need content too. Wouldn't you want to keep the thing that's going to keep the kid entertained? Because that's just more numbers being viewed for you when the parent leaves the room, and you can just put on an endless rotation of content for the kid. It's insane. It's insane to me that animation took a huge purge. And again, there's other things going around. The creator of OKKO was like, I don't have any physical media for this, really. There's certain places you can watch it online, but they're deleting clips off of YouTube. They're removing things from Spotify. We're going to lose this. Can you... I gotta restrain myself from getting too mad. Can you imagine being in 2022, and we could be living in the era of lost media? Let that sink in. That is so heartbreaking to think about, that these people have been working on these shows for years. They have put their life and their soul into it. Like, everything about a person is into this show. It gets put on a streaming service that has great numbers. People are loving HBO Max. Suddenly, there's a new shift. This thing you've spent, let's say, 5 years of your life on for these 26 episodes, it gets removed from the platform. And you're like, oh, well, there's everything I worked on. I never got a physical copy of this because it was made straight for the platform. Oh, you canceled it because you don't want to pay residuals because we're saving every bottom dollar? Oh, my life and my art and my work means nothing to you. You're just trying to save pennies on the literal pennies at this point. And now this thing you poured your soul into, nowhere to be found except for piracy sites, which I do not advocate for. I do use them sometimes because that's where we are. That's where you're going to get this stuff. If you want to watch full episodes of Infinity Train or OKKO, you're going to have to go to the piracy sites. And it's not ideal, but if you can get them, you can like download them to a USB. You can bootleg them at conventions and at these places, get the physical copies made, and start the cycle over again. I cannot believe this is where we are. It is insane to me like that this is happening. And I know people are like, well, it's just new management. This is bullshit. I can't imagine dedicating so much of your time to one thing just to have it erased because the guy in charge doesn't want to pay you your residuals. Like, get fucked, man. That sucks. That is the worst thing you could do. So all of these shows, a lot of them for younger audiences, they've been scrapped. They've been deleted. They're being removed. Again, the playlist of the songs going off of Spotify and Apple. Clips online being deleted. They're being pushed aside. This is the illusion of streaming services, and I think it's becoming more apparent now than it's ever been. The illusion of the streaming service is that you supposedly are going to have endless content until they decide to get rid of it. And can you imagine, like, we have film preservation stuff being remastered all the time. And this is another thing. Like, I just saw this clip kind of going around. It's from Hot Ones, which is the show, you know, eating hot wings and just talking about stuff. Matt Damon was talking about how in like the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of movies were able to take the hits at the box office because they would make the sales in DVDs. And now the fact is that these streaming services aren't making DVDs. So if the numbers aren't doing good on streaming, they see it as a failure when it's like, no, like You just have to get more product out there. Like, market these things better instead of dumping them on this platform. You have to promote things. You have to get into the eye of the general public. Like, we're losing it. And again, I never thought I'd be the guy that's like, physical media is coming back, baby. It is. We're getting there. I think if I ever became super rich and just became a millionaire overnight, I'd open like a video store where you can just rent a DVD player, a Blu-ray player, and we could get you a lot of these movies just to watch whatever you want. I think, don't be surprised if in the next 10 to 15 years we see, maybe not the resurgence of Blockbuster, but we see the resurgence of that kind of industry where it's like, oh, you wanted to watch this show? Well, I have a physical copy of the first season. There you go. Check it out at your video store. That's coming back. I think that's genuinely coming back. And you just see like a lot of the shows that you love, they were here because of DVD sales. We only got more seasons of things like Family Guy and Futurama because the DVD sales saved those shows. John Carpenter got his whole career because VHSs came out the same time he was making these films that have to be seen by the people that want to see them. The Thing bombed at the box office, but it made itself back in terms of like the cultural zeitgeist because of the VHSs. Physical media is important. It should come back. I hope we can save some of this stuff from existing. There is some positive news to this, though, in some way, I guess, because there's some... Okay, we'll start with like the bad part of this, but the good part. The bad part about this, again, removing stuff aimed for children. HBO Max removed over 200 episodes of Sesame Street. I imagine Jim Henson is rolling in his grave right now at this creation because it's like this thing that should have been made free for kids to just like understand and learn and teach and just experience these ideas in a friendly environment. Well, now you can't do that. You know, this back catalog, nobody was watching it extremely high, and we don't want to pay the people involved anymore, so it's gone. I will say, to the credit, we know there are physical copies of these shows, so that's cool. And immediately after it was said, you see the Sesame Street Twitter's like, hey, episodes are going to be on YouTube. We don't know which ones yet, but they're coming. We don't care what HBO is doing. We're staying strong. We are powerful. We are Sesame Street. You can't get rid of us that easy. And I had a tear of joy in my eye. Like, yeah, I can't believe the one thing that is saving their content on YouTube is Elmo and Friends. Like, that's so cool. Again, Sesame Street is a very cool show. Like, the entire concept's just perfect. Why you would want to delete 200 back episodes of that is dumb and kind of silly. And on top of all this news as well, guess what, everybody? Oh, man. There's some rumors going around that the power that be at WBD was deleting the files for Batgirl. I guess the directors are trying to like salvage some footage, and they're like, no, you can't touch it. It's gone. It might not be officially deleted, but essentially what is happening here is Warner Bros. Is getting ahead of this movement, so there's no hashtag release the Batgirl cut movement going. Because it could happen any second. There's been jokes about it. It could happen at any second. They don't want to have another one of those on their hands. And I can't blame them. Like, that sucks. They got bullied by online bots to release an unfinished film for a second time with an extended budget that shouldn't exist. And again, I gotta bring this up, but I just remember arguing with somebody in my real life that the Snyder Cut was a hit. Here's the thing. It's already a $300 million movie before the $70 million reshoots and add-ons for the release of the Snyder Cut. It tanked the numbers on HBO Max compared to Wonder Woman 84, The Suicide Squad. Those things all did better than that. So do not sit here and tell me the Snyder Cut was a success. It's the reason all of this is happening. I am almost 100% certain the Snyder Cut is the reason we're here. You all ruined Hollywood and cinema for all of us. Thank you, Snyder fans. You destroyed the world. Probably did. You probably ruined everything for everybody. Cinema's dying. Maybe not cinema's dying, but man, we're going to go back to the era where you just go to your local, video rental place. You pick up the copy of a film you couldn't see in theaters. You're like, is this on Netflix? Who cares? Could you imagine? I don't think it'll ever happen, but Netflix started off with like a video rental place. Could you imagine the audacity if Netflix had to go back to that format? Even just like one location, like a big metropolitan where it's like, here you go. You want to rent The Killing season, whatever. It's going to be shipped to your house. Oh, could you imagine? I think we're headed back there because it's crazy. Also, I guess Disney Plus is bringing ads again. I don't care, man. Like, these things, they're costly, so if you're just making it cable TV, do the ads if it's going to be cheaper. I genuinely don't care. All I want to know is, like, what are they going to be promoting on Disney Plus? Is it other shows in development? Who cares? Amazon and Apple have, like, previews for their other content every time you start up a new episode, so it doesn't matter. None of this stuff really matters. Let's talk about some television that came out this week. There's a lot of big stuff. I think to the surprise of everybody, we got a bonus episode of The Sandman, and I was not expecting that because it feels like they really pushed the pennies to a certain amount, and having more content seemed impossible. But I guess that's okay because we got animated content. So let's see if I can get these names right. We had The Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope. Is that the name? I was struggling to say Calliope all day the other day because I don't know how to say that. Let's start with The Dream of a Thousand Cats. It's an animated sequence. It might be 20-something minutes. Yeah, you don't have to dedicate an entire episode to that story. It's a cool story. It's well written. And it was amazing. I just remember being like, wow, I can't believe we're sitting here watching something this amazing. It looks good. The animation is incredible. It looks photorealistic in some ways, and I love the way the cats look. Perfectly written. Sandra Oh as the lead there. She's great. I really dug this, actually. I think it was very fun, very well done. Because you don't have to go all out. We know what's going on here. The cat, loses her kids, wants to learn why. The answer is, well, here's why. We used to roam. Now you don't. Well, spread the word and maybe it'll happen again. If you can get 1,000 cats to believe it, you can dream it, baby. So that was cool. Like, that was a fun little bonus. If they just released that, I would have been like, oh, that's fun. I could see them doing more of that kind of stuff. Just like these smaller budgeted animation things for this world. It gets the Sandman universe out there more, and I get it. Would it have been cool to see this story with live action cats, a la something like The Lion King? Of course it would. That would be so fun, but a lot of money. So I understand the need not to do that. Then we have Calliope, which, let's tread the line on this one kind of thin. So I have read the story that Calliope is based on. And I was reading a certain review online from this female critic, and she pointed out, like, it's one simple change that the television show made that made it better than the original source material, and that was Calliope fighting back. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. That is what makes it better. So in the original source material for this book, how do we want to go about this? Do we want to go too intense? The writer forces themselves onto Calliope, and she is portrayed as the victim throughout everything. She desperately needs the man to save her, and Morpheus, like, she is just presented as the weakling, and it's a certain time, and I get that, and if you gave Neil Gaiman the opportunity to change that, I have no doubt he would change certain things about that storyline to make it more relevant today and more prominent today. But there's this one scene in this episode where you see, like, the writer has some blood on his cheek, so showing that she resisted his advances, and suddenly you kind of change the story to she's no longer the victim. She is just in need of assistance in the situation. And I think that saves it a little bit. It's well made, well created. I love a good story about a writer just freaking out. It's just really fun to me because I write stuff and you just see, like, every time a writer writes about writing, you're either getting something so annoying or so stupid or just so annoyingly stupid. And I love that. Like, who doesn't want to write about writing? You write what you know, and if you're a writer, you know writing, so you don't have to try too hard, and it's like, hey, you got a muse, she's going to help you. You wrote crap. Maybe it's good now. Look at all the success you got from this woman. That's a fun story in essence, and then the Calliope stuff is tragic, but she fights back. She's not the victim. That's a strong plus. Morpheus saves her, and there's kind of like some romantic undertones being pushed there again, which is kind of cool to see. That, again, didn't need to be a whole episode, so I'm glad they split into two, like, just like a small mini part. Like, that's kind of fun. I hope they do more of that because that is what I imagine Neil Gaiman wanted to do from the beginning. He's like, yes, we can do like, the serial stuff and have that whole thing of Rose Walker. It's a big part of the book. Everyone loves the Doll's House. But I just want to tell my silly stories in this format. We can get talented people to do it. Works for him, works for me. I'm liking that. Will they surprise with another episode? I doubt it, but let's see what you got, man. Let's see what else is coming. It's still the number one show on streaming. So I'm thinking if they didn't give us a season 2, there'd have to be a good reason for it. I imagine we will at least be getting a second season of this show. 3rd, 4th, 5th, I doubt it, but go all out for season 2, man. I'd love to see what you got. I would love to see it. And look, guess what? There was another big show that came out this week because it's officially back, baby. We're living in an era where a Game of Thrones show is back on television. And I know what you're thinking, like, that can't feel like a whole era. You can't tell me the world hasn't been different since Game of Thrones went off the air. It's just felt different. And it just left fast. And I know people are like, well, it's back now. It's like it never went away. But there's the moment you just felt the finality go out with like a dim flame, people just scrubbed the world of caring about Game of Thrones. Like, nobody talked to the actors about, nobody cared. Nobody was talking about, like, the merchandise just stopped. Nobody's doing it anymore. It's kind of like The Walking Dead, but that's an even slower dead burn, It's just, like, still going on, kind of, and dying slowly. And the world kind of fell apart after it, I guess because, a lot of other shit happened, but just seeing the end of Game of Thrones, you're like, okay, do we need more of this? Turns out we did, because House of the Dragon is here now. George R.R. Martin's already like, guess what, everybody? We're making this the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Biatches. I'm dropping this shit all the time. We're going to do so many spin-offs. HBO's probably already greenlit like 5 of them just because of the numbers that this premiere did. We're doing content forever. Just like me, I'm on the same level with George R.R. Martin. I'm going to milk this thing that I did once that was good until it's bad and everybody hates it. Guess what, George? You're 0 for 2, is it? No, you're 1 for... This is good. And I don't think it's good because of George R.R. Martin. I think it's good because you don't got Benioff and Weiss here to screw it in the end. But who's to say? Maybe this thing will just die again. Because you have to go into this kind of show with tempered expectations. You're burned too hard. Like, the finale, whether you like it or not, was really rushed and really fast. And it just didn't do anything creative. So you're coming back, your first big thing coming back to the world of the Song of Ice and Fire. You going to stick the landing? Are you going to stick the landing, show? I think so. I kind of put a poll out earlier just to get a feel of what people are saying. It seems very mixed. It seems like, we're kind of just wherever on this thing. It's either this is sick or it's like, who cares? I'm right there too. I liked a lot of what I saw. I think there's budget behind this, which I'm surprised by because they had to reshoot like the $35 million pilot for another spinoff that didn't go through. So the fact that this is like, oh yeah, here you go. It's just Game of Thrones. It repeats a lot of the Game of Thrones things, like the sick king, the knight helping the girl, and that, like, there's the Daenerys and Jorah comparisons I see right away from Rhaenyra and whoever Graham McTavish is playing. Like, you see that right away. And maybe it's just because, like, you can't really change the format too much, so the characters are going to wear similar clothes. The dragons are going to look the same. When you're a Targaryen, you obviously have to look a certain way, so you can't change the mold too much from that. So, okay. I get that. So here's kind of like the premise. There's a king who has to pick his heirs because he doesn't have any. Is it his sister or his brother? There's the girl who doesn't get the throne because girls can't sit on the throne. And then there's the brother who gets the throne from his dying family member. I don't know the relation. I don't know the names either. It's episode 1. Rhaenyra is all I know, and Otto Hightower, because that name's freaking dope. Otto Hightower is a great name. Guy sucks. So that guy becomes king. He has one daughter. His wife's not able to produce him like a proper heir to the throne. There's been miscarriages and stillborns and all that stuff. The wife's pregnant. She's giving birth. He has to make this, like, the choice, like, do I let my wife die and potentially have a son who will be my heir, or do I kill them both? He chooses to save the son. He has the son for a minute. The son dies. He's like, oh, I guess I need a proper heir. We can't have it be Matt Smith because he's trying too hard to be the villain over here. I guess it'll be my daughter, like the young woman who looks kind of like Amelia Clark, but is different enough where it's not. Oh, what's her name? Alcock. It's something Alcock. Elena Alcock. It's like that. That's House of the Dragon. I know what you're thinking. Is it worth watching? I don't know. There's stuff in here where I'm like, oh yeah, like I'd like a good jousting scene with just a bunch of people in stupid armor jousting. That looks cool. I kind of miss fantastical politics like this. It feels like it's been a while since we had something that's like generally like, oh no, we have to find a way to get your brother not to be king because you're clearly dying, and if your brother becomes king, he's pretty much just like a brutal militia force. If you wanted to see modern politics presented in your Game of Thrones content, look no further than Daemon Targaryen, I believe is his name. It's the Matt Smith character, being the captain of the brutal police force, just probably hurting innocent people for no reason. Is that just saying too much about today's light? Who's to say, but that's where we are. You get it. Does he cut a guy's dick off? Yeah, that's kind of cool. But were these people actually criminals, or is he just enacting his power through all this yada, yada, yada? Metaphor for today's political climate. A woman can't sit on the throne. Well, now I guess she's going to. I don't have any problems with that. I think Rhaenyra is an interesting enough character because she seems like a good person. You know, everyone's just kind of like gravelly and mean, and you got Hightower who's like sending his daughter to please the king. It's just uncomfortable. And you got this girl who's just like, well, nobody was looking after my mom. I'm going to go check on my mom, and then I'm just going to like be a good person. I'm going to be late to stuff because I'm flying my dragons. Everything's fine. Everybody kind of likes her, even though she has got nothing really going on for her. But it's whatever, you know? It's cool. It's just people in weird colored costumes doing stuff. We got a Baratheon in there, and then we got the most egregious part of this is where the king Viserys is, I think it's Viserys, Rhaenyra, and Daemon. I think those are like the main Targaryens. The king's like, daughter, if you were to take the throne, you have to know about the wicked winter that is coming, the winds of winter that will come and sweep through the land. Game of Thrones starts with the winter coming. This show's like, don't forget though, the winter is coming. It won't affect us. Or does it? I don't know enough about the Game of Thrones lore to know if there was a winter before the one that hits in the actual show. I don't care enough to know, but I'm just like, hey, don't forget, winter is coming. We're not going to... Stark, they're on the way, baby. Don't worry. The things you like, they're going to be showing up, okay? We referenced the name Stark. There's a Baratheon in here. I literally thought at some point we're going to be like, hey, Lannister, Martell. We say Dornish, which I'm like, okay, yeah. Slowly built to this shit. We get it. Yeah, okay. But he's also like, and you know, the guy just called it like a Song of Ice and Fire. You know, that's the world we're in now. Like, that's what we're calling this stuff. It's just like, we're all a part of the Song of Ice and Fire because we're Targaryens, we're fire. The winter's coming, it's ice, but don't worry, if you have to fight the Night King, the little assassin girl is just going to stab him in the back and he'll break to shards. Is that what happened? Nobody's watched it since, so nobody can actually say if that's what happened or not. We all have to go on memory of what happened in the final season of Game of Thrones, and we all collectively were just like, did that happen? Sure. Maybe it did. We don't know. We can't go back and check because we all have too much to do with our lives. And if you do go back and check, you're lying because you didn't. Nobody's checking. So it's not bad. You know, it looks good. Matt Smith gets to, you know, like hump a bunch of ladies. And I think like Matt Smith's kind of earned this, you know, like the guy has been struggling to replace his genre niche like place since Doctor Who. He did a Terminator movie that bombed. He was in Morbius, and nobody saw Morbius either of the times it was released. So give him, he's earned it, you know. Doctor Who is, I understand wanting to move away from that. Like, you've grown up a lot since then, Matt, so sure. If you want to go, you know, erectile dysfunction while you're humping your lady, I'll support you. if you want to show like, oh, I'm actually a creepy looking guy. People just think me as Doctor Who or I'm quirky, but I'm actually weird if you make me the villain. Like, I look like a weirdo who's doing bad stuff. I'll support you, man. If you want to do that, I'm all for it. I'll watch any of these people. They're all interesting actors. But it's episode 1. We'll see what happens. The dragon looks good, so that's something. dragons. It's amazing how, like, season 1 of Game of Thrones was just like, we have to build up to the dragons. This one's like, bro, dragons, you get it? Like, we have to keep you interested. We need this. We need this. This was on our spreadsheet of, like, our franchises. We need this. We're probably going to lose Harry Potter because we don't know what we're doing with that. So we need Game of Thrones to be successful. And guess what? It was something. It could be worse. Like, I will say it could have been way worse. It could have just been shit, but it wasn't. Same with She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. I've done a whole review on She-Hulk. If you haven't seen it, you can go check that out. So I just want to talk about it briefly. The show really plays off like a classic spin-off episode. You know how, like, you'd have like a show that runs for 7 seasons. It's like, oh, we're successful. We'll spin off this character who maybe appeared in some episodes, and then we'll have like the main character of the previous show up and be like, hey, you're better than me in every way. Go make us more money over here. That's what this plays like. Mark Ruffalo shows up. He's like, wow, you don't have split personality. You might be stronger than me. You're clearly sexier than me. You're capable of all of this stuff. Green light, baby. Go make us money. Go make another show about this. That's something to do. It's great. Tatiana Maslany, fantastic. She's a very cool Canadian actress that I enjoy seeing. I like the fourth wall breaks. My one criticism is that I am not convinced we couldn't have hired a stronger, taller, bodybuilder-esque actress for the role of She-Hulk. Keep Tatiana as Jennifer, but if we're going to do the CG all the time, maybe we could hire an actual strong, sexy woman to do it, not just CG where we can't move the face all the time. That's neither here nor there. That's just a small thing that I think about, but, sometimes I'm not criticizing the CG. That's not who I am. I'm not doing it. But sometimes nobody's moving their face except their mouth when they're talking, and that's not a thing that happens all the time. So, yeah, the jokes landed. Everything was good. My 2 biggest criticisms were like, okay, yes. Is it funny that we're making jokes about Captain America having sex? It is hilarious, but it's also like, how insider baseball are we going to get with these jokes? Because is it only funny because we know what scene they're referencing to in the MCU, or is it funny because Captain America fucking is funny? Sometimes it just gets too insider baseball with the jokes in the MCU stuff, and that's when I think I lose interest, where it's like, you're not doing like some clever wordplay, you're just referencing this thing that happened in another show, or making a callback with dialogue to this other thing, so the people watching this are like, haha, yes, I know that, where it's like, yeah, look, when Icarus said Eternals assemble in the trailer for Eternals, but not in the movie, you're like, haha, Avenger thing. That sucks. And I got kind of like the sense of that with this Captain America joke. I just thought it was like, yeah, whatever. It's funny-ish, but if you've never seen a Captain America thing, is it funny? Is it only funny because Like, I don't know. Insider baseball is a problem I feel like the MCU is going to get too stuck into. It's going to get too in the weeds with some stuff, but hardly the worst part about this show. What is the worst part, you might ask? I don't know. Maybe them riding Tony Stark's dick a little bit more every time. I don't think the Tony and Bruce relationship is something they've ever explored wholeheartedly. There's been references in Ultron, that's it. Other than that, the two hardly share scenes together. They're nerdy science guys. That's why they're friends. No. We've seen them maybe talking in a post-credit scene to Iron Man 3, and in Avengers Age of Ultron, maybe a little bit. Every other time, it's just been Avengers shit. I don't buy their friends. And they kind of say it's like, this is during the time in the 5-year snap. And you're like, okay, didn't Tony have like kids he's taking care of? Why was he helping Bruce over here? I don't know. So that shit sucks. I'll watch Tatiana do anything in the show. I think she's fantastic. And it feels like we're going to get some horny stuff again. What did I just say last week? Give me more horny stuff in the MCU. DC's horny as hell, man. Maybe She-Hulk's going to be a horny show. I feel like it. They just released like this teaser, like a snippet of stuff. We see Jennifer Walters in a bed, and off in the corner slightly, it looks like the tip of a red cane. So I am seriously hoping, She-Hulk and Daredevil do some kissy-kissy. If they don't, I'm not going to be offended, but if they do, a 10 out of 10 show. We deserve that more than anything. Please and thank you. Biscuits and gravy. I love content forever. And go watch Beast this weekend. There's going to be 2 Idris Elba films in theaters this weekend. There's going to be Beast, and there's going to be 3,000 Years of Longing. Beast is great, a 10 out of 10 film. I'm going to tell everybody to watch because it is a breathtaking story with great camera work and cinematography, and it's only 93 minutes. That changed the game for me. Like, it just showed me, like, oh yeah, Hollywood can still do that, and they should do it more. And 3,000 Years of Longing, a George Miller romp from Dr. George Miller, and what a storied career that man has had that we're going to be talking about next week on the Geek Wave. But until then, that has been the Geek Beach. Hopefully next week we can not talk about Warner Bros. Discovery. I wouldn't hold my breath, though, because I feel like at any second they're going to be like, actually, Dwayne Johnson has no power, and we're going to put Black Adam in a bin. Who's to say, though? But thank you guys for watching this episode of the Geek Beach. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, again, always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.